She will never voice it out loud, not to her circle, not even in her quietest moments, but deep inside there's a craving. Not for sweet words or pretty gestures, but for something that cuts through the noise. She wants to feel, not flattered, not admired, moved, shaken, in a way that makes her forget the world and remember you. The truth, most men won't ever reach that level. They've been taught to be soft-spoken, to color inside the lines, to always say what's expected. But routine doesn't create spark, it smothers it. You weren't designed to blend in. You were made to stir her spirit, to be the one she remembers, without knowing why. Right now, good guys are stuck in a loop, over-texting, over-giving, waiting for effort to be enough. But it never has been, because what draws her in isn't how much you try, it's what you hold back. It's the fire beneath your calm, it's your edge, your mystery, your silence that says more than any compliment ever could. Today I'm going to teach you how to tap into that energy, not by acting out, not by pretending to be someone you're not, but by owning your presence so completely that she has to lean in. This isn't about playing games, it's about becoming unshakable, about unlocking 4 emotional triggers that speak louder than words ever will. If you're tired of feeling invisible, if you've given and still feel unseen, this is your turning point. What I'm about to share isn't just insight, it's how obsession begins. Number 1, she loves to feel intrigued. She won't say it out loud, but the truth is, she's drawn to the unknown. Not the man who explains everything, but the one who makes her feel like there's more beneath the surface. The man who pauses before he speaks, who looks at her and chooses silence over explanation, who leaves space in the conversation, not because he's hiding, but because he moves with intention, and in that space she starts to feel something. She can't name something just out of reach. That gap you leave, it pulls her closer, not out of confusion but out of instinct, because what she can't predict she wants to understand, and what she can't control she wants to earn. She doesn't crave full access, she craves the process of discovering you. Every moment you choose restraint. Every time you say less than expected, you build tension, and tension isn't the enemy. It's the invitation. You're not being cold, you're being present. You're showing her that knowing you takes time. Now picture a man who walks into a room and says nothing. He doesn't need to fill the air with noise. He doesn't perform. He listens, he stands firm, and his stillness speaks louder than anyone's volume. She notices not because he demands it, but because she feels his gravity. That changes the dynamic. He's not chasing, she's drawn in, not because he's mysterious on purpose, but because he carries substance. And that presence can't be faked, it must be earned. Layer by layer, moment by moment. Think about how many times you gave too much too soon. You thought opening up fast would build trust, that telling her everything would make her feel closer, but it didn't. She smiled politely, then slowly drifted. You felt her energy shift and you wondered what went wrong. The truth, you gave her the ending before she read the first chapter. There was nothing left to explore, no questions to ask, no reasons to stay curious. Desire doesn't thrive on access, it thrives on tension, mystery. The quiet pull of what hasn't been said. You thought your vulnerability would win her heart. But what she really craved was the slow unfolding. The man who says, "You'll get to know me. You stay long enough, because here's the truth." When a woman feels like she's figured you out, she stops leaning in, she stops imagining. And when imagination dies, so does attraction. You don't have to hide, you just have to pace the reveal. Let her earn each part. Make her feel she's unlocking something no one else gets to see. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not what you give, but how slowly you give it. And yes, there will be moments when she presses in. She'll ask questions, try to read you, maybe even try to pull truth out of you like a thread from a wound, and that's your test. Not to hide, but not to hand her the entire map either. When she asks why you're so calm, you simply say, "I don't speak about things that matter until someone shows they can hold them." And when she asks what's on your mind, you let the silence settle before you say, "There's a lot there, but not all of it is ready for words." You're not avoiding her. You're inviting her to earn access to discover, not consume. When she wants everything at once, you give her just enough to feel like she's unlocked the next door. Not because you're withholding, but because you value the process more than the performance. Being intriguing isn't about playing games, it's about patience. It's about being the calm before the storm, and the storm no one expected. Because there's something magnetic about a man who doesn't overshare, who doesn't need applause, who can hold the weight of his silence like a crown. Think back. Have you ever had a woman who couldn't stop texting you, who reread your messages, who asked her friends, "Do you think he meant more by this?" That wasn't luck. That was restraint. That was your mystery doing the work. You didn't say aloud, and that mystery, it fuels her curiosity. Not because she's playing you, but because human attraction lives in what's not fully known. When a woman feels she's figured everything out, there's nothing left to chase, nothing left to wonder, nothing to pull her back into the room. But when she feels there's always more, she returns, not for validation, but for discovery. So if you want to be the man she replays in her mind, the one she imagines beside her when she's lying alone, the one who makes her compare every other man to you, don't give her everything, give her access she has to earn. Let her feel like knowing you is a journey, not a transaction. Your story should feel like a novel she can't put down, not a brochure she reads once and forgets. Every conversation is a chance to reveal just a sliver, to let her peel back one layer and feel that moment of wait, there's more to him than I thought. That's how you build emotional tension. Not by faking anything, but by showing her that the man she's looking at was not built in a day and will not be given away in one. So how do you live like this? You move slower, you answer less, not to play hard to get, but because your life is already full and you're not handing your attention to anyone who hasn't shown they can hold it. When you're with her, you ask questions that reach past the surface, and only after she's opened a door do you open one of yours. You don't dump your past out on the table. You let her dig, and when she does, you reward her not with your scars, but with your inside. Give her your thoughts like fragments of poetry, your truths like keys, your energy like a rare invitation. That's what creates obsession, not desperation, not performance presence. The most unforgettable men aren't the loudest. They're the ones who know the value of silence, who move with weight, who speak with stillness, who allow others to earn what most men give away for free, because the truth is, a woman falls. Not when she fully understands you, but when she realizes she never fully will. She falls when she senses that knowing you will take time, will take effort, will require her to rise into the version of herself capable of meeting your depth, and because people value what they work for her, emotional bond to you will deepen. With every layer she peels back, with every pause you hold, with every truth you delay just long enough to make it land. So live like a man who doesn't need to broadcast, who doesn't overshare, who makes the world and her. Earn every layer of him, because the man who carries mystery with integrity is the one she doesn't just desire, he's the one she'll never forget. Number 2, she loves to feel challenged. She doesn't crave a man who agrees with everything. She craves the one who doesn't fold under pressure, who doesn't chase her approval. When you speak with clarity, calm but certain, you don't just impress her, you move something deeper inside her. A man who can disagree without becoming defensive commands, respect without asking for it. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't need to dominate the conversation. All you need is stillness. Stillness that doesn't seek applause, presence that doesn't perform, and values that don't shift when tested. She feels it not because you're being rude, but because you're being real. You don't reward beauty with instant validation. You let her feel that your attention must be earned, and that's what changes the energy. She leans in, not because you tried to win her, but because you didn't flinch when tested. You didn't change your plans to please her. You didn't laugh at jokes that weren't funny. You didn't break your own code just to avoid friction. And that kind of man, that's the one who lingers in her mind. You said no with peace. You held your truth without apology. And in that moment she saw it. The edge, the boundary, the quiet fire, that rare balance of self-control and silent strength. And something in her woke up, not fear, but respect, curiosity, attraction. Because women aren't drawn to compliance, they're drawn to conviction. The man who says, "This is who I am, take it or leave it," and actually means it. He doesn't chase. He doesn't adapt to fit her moods. He doesn't shrink to avoid her disapproval. He holds, he leads, he listens without changing his direction. And in that stillness, she senses security. Not the fake kind that pleases, but the kind built from purpose. She may test you, she may poke and push and challenge, but when you don't react, when you remain unshaken, she pays attention. She wants to know what you're made of, where that calm comes from, what you stand for. Because when a woman meets a man who refuses to compromise himself, something shifts inside her, and suddenly you're not just another man. You're the challenge she didn't know she needed. Every small moment where you don't flinch adds weight to how she sees you. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you're anchored. You don't laugh at things that aren't funny. You don't rearrange your life just because she wants attention. You don't rush to reply when she sends a vague, dismissive message. Why? Because your time is valuable, your peace is sacred, and your attention isn't something she can pull from you. It's something she has to earn. That's what pulls her in. You're not hard to get, you're hard to shake. And that kind of man is unforgettable. You're not aggressive, you're consistent. You don't need to demand respect. You live in a way that commands it. Because here's the truth. Women don't fall in love with convenience, they fall in love with conviction. Every time you calmly hold a boundary, you send her a silent message. I'm not here to be chosen, I'm here to choose. And that message, it changes everything. It doesn't push her away. It pulls her deeper, because now she's not asking whether you'll accept her. She's asking whether she's worthy of you. She stops testing to see if you'll fold. She starts wondering what it'll take to rise to your level. And that's the energy shift most men never reach. Because most men are too afraid to say no. They say yes to keep the peace. They laugh to avoid discomfort. They bend their truth just to avoid being alone. And women feel that. They feel when you say yes but mean maybe. They feel when your boundaries are just for show, and they lose interest because they're not falling for you. They're tolerating the version of you that's afraid to be real. Ask yourself, when was the last time you silenced your truth just to keep her smiling? When was the last time you swallowed your standards just to avoid a little tension? Those are the moments where your power leaked, and she felt it. Because women are intuitive, they know when strength is real, and they know when it's just fear wearing a polite mask. So how do you reclaim that power? You draw lines not with volume but with consistency. You make plans and you keep them. You protect your routines. You don't abandon your discipline just because she calls late. You don't skip the gym, cancel your schedule, or hit pause on your mission just to reply to a craving for attention. That's not cold, that's clear. And clarity is attractive, because most men don't have it. So when she sees that her emotional chaos doesn't disturb your internal order, when she realizes she can't pull you out of alignment, she feels something rare. Safety, not the safety of submission, the safety of structure, of presence, of calm. And in her mind a story starts to write itself. He's not like the others. And that thought becomes a seed, a fixation. a new standard. She starts comparing not because she's petty, but because she's realizing that most men are reactive. Most men shift with the wind, but you stand. You become the quiet voice she hears when she's with someone else, the one she remembers when other men try to impress her, because you didn't have to try. You didn't sell yourself. You didn't chase her affection. You gave her something no one else did, a reason to rise. Now, will she push back? Of course, she'll test your patience. She'll challenge your silence. She'll question your standards, not because she wants to break you, but because she needs to know they're real. And when she sees that they are, when you stay centered in the fire, when you don't trade your identity for her approval, something opens in her. She lowers her guard not because she's defeated, but because she's finally met a man she can trust with her full heart. And when a woman trusts your emotional strength, she gives more than her words. She gives you her loyalty, her softness, her depth. And you never had to raise your voice to earn it, only your standard. So, if you want to be unforgettable, stop explaining. Stop trying to convince. Stop living to be accepted. Start choosing who gets access to you. Because the most attractive men in the world don't chase validation, they carry values. And women chase that energy like oxygen. Not because it flatters them, but because it awakens something sacred inside them. And that kind of man she doesn't just love, she fights to keep. Number 3, she loves to feel uncertain. Here's a truth you won't hear often. Women don't fall hardest when everything's certain. They fall hardest when they don't know where they stand. When they feel the thrill of anticipation, the questions, the slow burn of curiosity. Not knowing exactly what's coming next. That's the emotional hook. See, when a woman knows everything, what you feel, what you'll say, when you'll say it, there's nothing left to pull her in. Certainty gives her comfort, but comfort doesn't create obsession. It's the moments where she thinks, does he like me as much as I think, or why hasn't he texted back yet? Those are the moments where her emotional brain lights up. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding emotional momentum. If you rush to tell her everything, reveal every feeling, solve every doubt, you remove the very fuel that draws her closer. You're cutting the tension before it ever has a chance to work in your favor. So what does this look like in real life? Let's say you go on a great date. You had chemistry, the conversation flowed, everything felt on point. What do most guys do next? They text her the second she gets home. They follow up the next morning with hearts and emojis and the whole deal. Why? Because they want to lock it in. But here's the problem, there's no space. No time for her to process the night. No mystery left to explore. You gave her the conclusion before the story even had time to unfold. Now imagine this instead. After that same great date, you go quiet. Not cold, just calm. You don't rush in. You give it a day, maybe 2. You let her wonder. Did he enjoy it as much as I did? Is he thinking about me? That space between your last message and the next, that's where her mind starts to spiral. And that spiral, that's powerful. It's where emotional attachment grows. This isn't manipulation. This is pacing. If she always knows what you're doing and when you'll reach out, there's no chase, there's no investment. And you don't build real desire by over-explaining or over-pursuing. You build it by being intentional with your time, your energy, and your presence. Here's the secret: uncertainty done right doesn't make her feel insecure. It makes her feel engaged. She starts paying more attention, looking for clues, replaying the last conversation in her head. That means her mind is on you, even when you're not there. That's when you become unforgettable. And when you do speak, speak less. Let silence do some of the talking. Let your eyes say things your words don't. She's watching. She's reading every pause, every small delay, every shift in tone. The more room you leave for her to interpret, the deeper she sinks into the experience. Let's make this practical. When she asks, "What are you thinking?" you don't need to deliver a speech. Just say, "I've got a few things on my mind. Some I'll share." Eventually, you haven't rejected her, but you haven't laid it all out either. That response tells her you're deep, but you're not desperate to be understood, and that's rare. Here's what separates men she remembers from the ones she forgets. The unforgettable ones leave something on the table. They don't give away their entire emotional landscape too early. They show restraint not because they're closed off, but because they value themselves enough to not perform. That restraint creates a contrast. It sets you apart from every guy who tries too hard to impress, confess, or progress things on her schedule instead of his own. So, don't text just because she texted. Don't post to get her attention. Don't explain things she never asked about. Let her wonder. Let her feel. Because it's not logic that bonds her to you. It's emotion. And nothing activates emotion like uncertainty. If you've ever felt like she lost interest right after things got comfortable, now you know why. She didn't lose interest. She lost suspense. Now I want to hear from you. What's one time you stayed calm and mysterious and noticed her leaning in more? Or maybe a time you gave too much away and watched the energy shift? Drop it in the comments. I read everything, and your experience might help someone else wake up to what really works. Ready for part 4? Let's go deeper. Number 4. The feeling of earned reward. Let me ask you something. What feels better, being handed something for free or earning it? Most people would say free without thinking twice, but not her. Not when it comes to emotional investment, not when it comes to attraction. When it comes to connection, desire, and romance, what she values is what she had to work for, what she earned, not what was dumped in her lap. This is where a lot of men miss the mark. They think being instantly available, overly kind, constantly complimenting is what will win her over. That if you show her she's already won, she'll feel secure and commit. But the truth is, when there's no mountain to climb, there's no pride in reaching the top. What triggers real emotional attachment in her is the feeling that she earned your time, your respect, your vulnerability, your attention. Especially your attention. Let's break this down. The earned reward dynamic starts with one simple shift. You stop giving everything up front. You stop treating your affection as something she's automatically entitled to. Instead, you treat it like what it truly is: valuable. Now, that doesn't mean being rude or cold. It means being selective, intentional. It means creating the space for her to put in effort, and then letting her feel the payoff, that moment where she makes you laugh, where she opens up and you actually listen, where she gets a rare compliment from you and it lands hard because you don't hand them out every 10 seconds. Those are the moments she remembers. Because here's the thing, most women are used to being pursued. They're used to men showing up with everything to offer 0 standards and 1 goal: approval. So when you flip the script and give her a reason to want your approval without demanding it, it changes the entire dynamic. She starts to see you differently. You become the exception. And now she's invested. Now she's leaning in, trying harder, wondering what makes you tick. What gets your respect? She's not just reacting to you, she's trying to win you. That's the shift. That's the hook. And the reason this works, it activates the part of her brain wired for challenge and reward. Just like we chase goals, achievements, or anything that gives us a sense of progress, she's wired to value the result she earned far more than the one she stumbled into. But here's the catch, you can't fake this. If you act aloof but secretly crave her validation, she'll feel the contradiction. Women are intuitive like that. This has to come from a real place of confidence, patience, and standards. If she senses you value your time, she'll work to earn more of it. If she senses your compliments are rare but real, they'll carry weight. If she senses your interest is genuine but not guaranteed, she'll treasure it. And that's when you become the guy she brags about to her friends, the guy she thinks about when she wakes up, because she didn't just get you, she earned you. Now let's get practical. Instead of complimenting her appearance every time, pause. Observe something deeper, then say it only when it counts. Instead of always texting first, hold off. Let her come to you. And when she does respond in a way that feels grounded, not overly eager, instead of oversharing, leave some parts of you unspoken. Let her be the one who earns those stories, those moments of vulnerability. Make them feel like gold, not gravel. Because when she feels like she's unlocking layers of you piece by piece, not all at once, it keeps her engaged, emotionally, mentally, physically. The earned reward isn't about manipulation, it's about meaning. When she's part of the process, when she had to show up, pay attention, be intentional, that's when the connection becomes unforgettable. And if that's the kind of connection you're trying to build, you're already thinking differently than most. Now, before we move on, take 2 seconds to lock in your spot here. Tap that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you want to go deeper, get exclusive drops, private Q&As, and content we don't share anywhere else, join as a member. You'll get inside access that helps you level up, not just with women, but in every part of your life. This channel is for men who are done chasing and ready to attract from a place of stillness, strength, and substance. Stick with me. Part 5 is where things get even more real. Number 5. She's addicted to your self-control. Here's something most guys miss completely. A woman might be drawn to your looks, your voice, your vibe, but what truly keeps her hooked? It's your restraint, your ability to hold back, to not let desire run the show. That's the quiet force that builds tension, mystery, and respect. See, when you're always eager to respond, explain, react, open up, chase, you become predictable. Safe, yes, but forgettable. And nothing kills attraction faster than predictability. The truth is, she craves a little friction, not drama, not toxicity, but the edge that comes from being around a man who's in complete control of himself. Self-control doesn't mean being distant or cold. It means you don't act out of impulse. You don't jump just because she calls. You don't need to prove yourself every time you get a little attention. And that calm, that centered energy is like a magnet. She starts leaning in when you're not trying to impress. She starts wondering what's going on in your mind when you're not oversharing. And when you respond with intention instead of emotion, she feels it deeply. Let's say you're on a date. She tells a story expecting a big reaction. You listen, nod, stay present, but you don't rush to validate. That pause, that calm, it makes her more alert. She starts analyzing your energy instead of sitting back expecting praise. Or maybe she texts you late at night, clearly fishing for attention. You see it, you take your time, maybe you even sleep on it. Not to play games, but because your life isn't centered around validation. That simple act of holding the line signals something most men never show: discipline. That's the word we're really talking about here. Discipline. When a woman senses that you're not easily moved by flattery, sex appeal, or emotional bait, she knows you're a different breed. And women don't forget men who are different. There's also a biological side to this. In her world, emotional regulation is rare. Most people are reactive. So when she sees a man who can hold still while everyone else jumps, her nervous system calms down. That's not just attraction, it's trust. And don't underestimate how this shows up physically. When you're in control, everything slows down. Your speech, your breathing, even your body language. That slowness becomes a presence. And presence is rare. Presence is remembered. This also plays out in deeper emotional situations. Maybe she throws a test at you, acts a little cold, pulls back just to see if you'll chase. Most guys panic. You don't. You hold your ground. You smile. You keep your cool. And in doing that, you show her she can't shake you. That steadiness makes her want to lean in, not pull away. She won't always say it, but trust me, she notices. She feels it. Because while the world is full of men who react, explode, chase and overshare, you're the contrast. You're calm, composed, and controlled. You're the guy who could have responded emotionally, but chose to respond intentionally. And that choice, that's where real power lies. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's one situation where staying cool when most men would have lost it made her lean in instead of pull away? I read every story, and you never know who you'll help just by sharing. Stick around. The next part gets even more real. Number 6. She craves the slow reveal. Here's a little secret most men never figure out. Women don't want to know everything about you up front. They don't want your whole story in the first hour. They want mystery. They want layers. They want to feel like they're slowly uncovering something rare, and that it takes time, attention, and patience to really know you. Why? Because when everything is out on the table from the start, there's no tension, no suspense, no emotional build-up. It's like skipping to the end of a movie. You might know how it ends, but you miss the thrill of the journey. You see, what pulls her in isn't information, it's curiosity. And curiosity only survives when she can't quite figure you out. Now, I'm not saying you need to be secretive or manipulative. That's not the game. The game is about pacing. It's about knowing your value enough to not spill it all just to keep the conversation going. It's about letting her wonder where your mind goes when you're quiet, what your past holds, what you really want. This is where the slow reveal becomes a powerful tool. Because with every layer she peels back, she feels more invested. And the more invested she feels, the more attached she becomes. So how do you actually do this? Simple. You keep some stories in your back pocket. You answer her questions, but not with your life story. You stay present, but you don't narrate your every emotion. You show interest, but not neediness. Let's say she asks about your past. You give her a piece, just enough to be real, but you leave something unsaid. You make space for her to ask more. That space, that's where her imagination kicks in. And imagination is powerful. It builds emotional gravity faster than facts ever could. Or maybe you're spending time together and she brings up something playful or flirty. Instead of diving in headfirst, you smile, hold the eye contact a little longer, and shift the conversation. Not to shut it down, but to let that moment stretch. That delay becomes anticipation, and anticipation is what keeps her mind coming back. This is why men who don't rush are remembered. They don't overshare, they don't overreact, and they don't try to buy intimacy with words. They let silence work in their favor. They know that restraint is often more seductive than exposure. And here's the twist. When you reveal slowly, when you let her earn access to your inner world, she doesn't just feel intrigued, she feels trusted. Because you're not offering your vulnerability to everyone. You're offering it to her, over time, thoughtfully. That creates something no amount of charm can fake: depth. It also builds respect. A man who doesn't rush to impress her is a man who's not desperate for validation. A man who keeps a calm mystery is someone who knows who he is. Someone who doesn't need to prove it with stories or showmanship. That confidence is felt. Now, this doesn't mean you play hard to get or dodge every question. It means you know the value of letting things unfold. You don't speed-run connection. You create space for it to breathe, to grow, to spark naturally. And in that space she gets hooked, not by what she knows about you, but by what she wants to know. and that's the energy that makes you unforgettable. If you've ever held back a little, just enough to keep her curious, and watched how she leaned in more, asked deeper questions, or looked at you with that extra focus, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. Share the moment, because those little shifts in energy, that's where the real game is played. Let's keep going. Number 7. The tension she can't shake off. Let's talk about something that doesn't get said enough. Tension isn't a problem, it's a weapon. We're not talking about drama. We're not talking about playing games or giving mixed signals. We're talking about that quiet pull that hangs in the air when something isn't fully spoken, when a glance lingers just a second too long, when there's a pause between what she says and how you respond. That's tension, and it drives her wild if you know how to use it. Here's the thing: women don't fall for men who are easy to figure out. They fall for the men who stir something in them, emotionally, physically, psychologically. They fall for the ones who create space, space to feel, space to imagine, space to desire, and tension lives in that space. You see, when everything is out in the open, when the vibe is flat, when the guy is predictable and overeager, she might feel safe, but she doesn't feel pulled. She doesn't feel that magnetic curiosity that makes her mind wander back to him at 2 a.m. But when a man carries himself with calm confidence, when he doesn't rush to speak, when his energy holds back just enough, that's what creates tension. That's when she starts leaning in without even realizing it. That's when she starts overanalyzing your words, replaying moments, searching for meaning. Now here's the part most guys miss: tension has to be grounded in presence. You can't fake it. You can't just be cold or aloof. That's not tension, that's avoidance. Real tension comes from being fully there while still being unpredictable, being connected without being obvious. Let's say you're sitting across from her. Conversation slows. You're not rushing to fill the silence. Your eyes are steady, your posture relaxed. Maybe you smile slightly, but you don't speak. You just hold the moment. Most guys would crack, say something, shift nervously, look away, but not you. You hold it. And in that stillness, she starts to feel it. That subtle electricity in the air. That question, what is he thinking? That's the tension that grabs her and doesn't let go. It's not just about attraction. It's about imprinting. When she can't stop wondering, when she starts feeling more than she can explain, you've already won. Because logic can be argued, but feeling lingers. Feeling rewires memory. And here's where you double down. You don't resolve the tension right away. You don't spill everything the second she asks. You don't rush the moment just to get a reaction. You let her sit in it. You let her chase the resolution. And the more she chases it, the more emotionally attached she becomes. This is why the most magnetic men aren't the loudest, the funniest, or the flashiest. They're the ones who know how to be still but still make her feel everything. So how do you build this energy naturally? You stay rooted in yourself. You speak less, listen more. You let moments breathe. You tease without overdoing it. You reveal in layers. And when something deep passes between you, through a look, a laugh, a brush of the hand, you let it hang there. You don't over-explain. You don't dilute it. You just let her feel it. Because once she feels that tension, she won't forget it. It won't be like every other guy she met. It won't be another nice conversation that fades by tomorrow. It'll be the moment that sticks. The moment she replays in her head, wondering why it felt different. And that difference, that's you. The guy who didn't push. The guy who didn't rush. The guy who knew that tension is the spark that lights up everything else. If you've ever seen this play out, if you've ever noticed her body shift, her tone change, her eyes linger just a little longer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Drop a comment below if you've felt that moment, or if you're starting to recognize how it all connects now. That wraps it. If you found value in this, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. And if you're ready to go deeper where the real edge is, join as a channel member. That's where we take things to the next level. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time always. See you in tomorrow's video.